Hi all, this is Once and Future Gamer and welcome to another Pokemon challenge. Last time was an intriguing run through Pokemon Platinum as I sought to see if I could beat that game with just a single Dustox. Today though, we jump ahead a generation and see if I can beat Pokemon Black with just a single Meowth. Let's talk about Meowth. We're a pretty iconic Pokemon from the first generation. This is the normal type version of Meowth, so we are weak to the fighting type and immune to Ghost. I've just realised all three versions of Meowth are weak to the fighting type. All versions of Meowth have a 290 base stat total, so slightly less than a first form pseudo-legendary. Cantonian Meowth has a speed of 90, plus an attack stat that is slightly better than everything else and a defence that is slightly worse. Probably the big takeaway from this is that we can go the physical or special attacking route. Most of the moves we learn via level up are physical damaging moves, but we do get Nasty Plot via level up, which might be an avenue to go down. They are mostly normal and dark type moves, with Slash and Night Slash probably being the best of the moves. Via TM, well, I'm not sure how many of these are pre-post game, but we do get some quite useful moves. There is Home Claws, there is Thunderbolt, Return, Dig, Shadow Ball, Aerial Ace, Shadow Claw, Work Up and U-Turn to give us coverage. This challenge is one of mine and I will be interested to see how this plays out. As always, the rules are on the screen throughout, and if you do enjoy what you see then like, subscribe and ring that bell. Let's do this. I use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Snivy with Meowth so that I can do the whole run with it. I chose to replace Snivy so that Cheren has Emboar, which is the hardest for us to fight, and well, between Serperior and Samurott, it's a coin toss which of them will be harder for us to fight with Bianca. I figured Samurott maybe. The first thing we have to do is fight Bianca then. We don't do a huge amount of damage to Oshawott individually with our scratches, maybe about a quarter. The bad news is that it can hurt us pretty badly too for about the same damage with its tackle attacks. We do just keep on scratching though, and after 4 of them we take down the Oshawott, and it's smoother after it wastes its final chance to attack with Tail Whip. There is also a quick battle with Cheren and his Tepig shortly after that, and I go for the similar strategy of hitting scratches without letting up. But of course, this one goes better as, although Tepig can hit us for a quarter of our health each time with tackle, we crit our second scratch for massive damage, and the third scratch is enough to take it down. When I get the chance, I nickname my Meowth. This isn't the first time I've used Meowth in a challenge, as I did so in a challenge in Pokemon Silver long ago. I delved into my archives and looked to see what I nicknamed Meowth there. I went with Cheshire then, and I'm doing it now. Cheshire has the pick-up ability, so free stuff, and also the jolly nature, so less special attack and more speed. Well, speed is definitely the one thing we don't lack. I go off and do some training then. I guess we're going after the local Lillipup and Patrat population. And well, it's a good thing those are attack EVs, I think. I guess we are going to go the physical attack route rather than the special attack route. I think our nature just sealed that for us. We are going to have 2 more rival fights upcoming against Bianca and Cheren, not to mention the one with N, and then there'll also be the first gym. And the first gym isn't always smooth sailing in this game, so I'm going to need some levels for sure. I think we'll be able to overpower him sooner rather than later though. On the subject of that N battle, it's a cat fight and we're pretty evenly matched as we're both at level 7. We start hitting each other with scratches, but eventually Purloin starts going for Growl, and that means our attacks hurt less. But we can still persist with the path that we are on. We can keep scratching and eventually we bring the Purloin down for the count. It's not long before there's another rival fight with Bianca. She jumps on us outside Striaton City and begins with Lillipup. We hit a fake out, we crit a fake out and one-shot Lillipup. Oshawott is second. We start using Bite, getting a flinch before we get hit with Tackle. Bianca drops a potion, we get hit with Tail Whip, but 3 scratches are enough to take her starter down and give us the win that we were looking for. We had to fight Cheren next in the trainer's school, and he begins with Tepig. We hit Fake Out and do okay damage before following up with Bite and getting another flinch. Tepig eats the berry. Our pick-up ability steals the berry from it after it's been eaten though how that works I don't know. And although we get hit with Ember, we can soon bring it down with Bite. Purloin is second. We land a scratch, but it insists on growling us, so we don't two-shot with our second scratch. We do get hit with an assist created Ember, but we soon take Purloin out. I guess we've got the gym leader to go and fight then. Because the game thinks we picked Snivy as the starter, we've got to face off against the fire-type gym leader, Chili, and I decided to make an early try on him, largely because I can't face much more grinding at the moment. Instead, I decide to just see how it goes. He begins with Lillipup, and we immediately clap it with Fake Out for decent damage with a crit. He uses a potion, we use 3 bites in a row. The second one gets the flinch on Lillipup, and the third one takes it out, so we made it through without taking damage. We have Pansear to deal with now though. I spam Bite a lot over the course of the fight to try and get flinches. We take a bunch of Incinerates in a row, 3 of them to be precise, and they eat a lot into our health. We don't get a flinch off any of our first 3 bites, but the 4th one causes Pansear to flinch, and the 5th takes it out to give us the first badge. I am getting in as much training as I can now because I know what's ahead. We'll have a pair of rival battles, one versus Cheron and one versus Ed. The latter will probably be more problematic than the former. None of this worries me anywhere near as much as the normal gym after it though, and I think it might be a great time to start taking guesses on what level I'll need to beat Lenora. I can't see us beating her at less than level 25, not without a huge amount of luck present. We fight Cheron pretty soon after, and it really unnerves me how he begins with his starter in this battle. I have no idea why. We hit Tepig with Fake Out to flinch it. We go for a few workups, but Tepig never attacks us, repeatedly going for Defense Curl. We do hit some bites and scratches to cut into its health, but even with our attack raise, it takes several hits to bring it down. I'm relieved when it does go down, put it that way. Purloin takes massive damage from scratch, then uses assist and crits us with Ember, but it doesn't last a whole lot longer and we soon take it down. I am moderately worried about the end fight. He does have a Timber that might cause us some problems. I think the double-edged sword we have when facing fighting types is that we can't really effectively use Bite on them since it will be resisted. So it means we are more likely to get hit with attacks because they're not going to be flinching. My sense of trepidation about Lenora is only growing too. Right, anyway, we throw down with Ed and he begins with P-Dub, and since cats and birds are natural enemies, we clap it with Fake Out and then begin to work up. P-Dub does land some quick attacks on us, which moderately annoying. We do floor it with Scratch though, and that puts us into battle with Timber. We do over half its health in damage with Scratch while it goes to Focus Energy. I figure this is going to be a 2-hit takedown, and it duly then survives the second Scratch and strikes us with Low Kick for massive damage. We do take it out, but the damage is done. We can then take Timpole out with 2 Scratches, but there is time for it to do big damage with Bubble Beam and leave us close to fainting. Right then, I take on Lenora at level 21, and this goes exceptionally badly, as we don't even make it past Herdia. I have a strategy, but the problem is that we're just a bit too weak to implement it. We do get exceptionally lucky with flinch attempts on the first attempt, but not many of the later efforts go that well, so I have to bow out and train some more. Grinding in Gen 5 is always a fun experience, especially when you're over leveled compared to the wild Pokemon. I am lucky in that I do get quite a few Ordino encounters, which do have the nice side effect of giving us good experience, so that is very much something, but it's still a slow and arduous process, and I figure I'll make some more tries at level 25. At said level 25, we make more of those tries. And the great news is that we now may be able to get past Herdia. Maybe, if things go our way. We are still a way off victory though, as Watchog just comes in and murders us with Retaliate, which is hugely problematic. I think I need to be at least level 30. Now, the worst case scenario, we get Slash at level 33, and I think that gives us a win condition. But hopefully, it doesn't go that far. And if I thought the grinding was bad before, it's way worse now. Is it too early to start doing the trivia to break it up? I mean, admittedly, I have probably done the trivia earlier in other videos in terms of timing the video, but usually I do the trivia when I'm like 3 or 4 gyms along. At level 30, we get an effort that looks like this. She begins with Herdia, we get Intimidated, and we immediately clap it with Fake Out to remove a good chunk of its health. We go for Workup to restore our lost attack, and then get hit with Takedown. We flinch Herdia with Bite, putting it on red health, and since I know she'll heal, I go for another Workup. We land a Bite, get another flinch, and then take it out with another Bite. I still have to hope we get lucky versus Watchog, and we do. We crit a Bite and take it out in one shot. Phew! I'm looking forward to some cooldown now. I think we probably just peaked in terms of difficulty. I think Lenora is like Morty in Johto. Luck is so important when it comes to facing her, but we've got that out of the way. Upcoming, we have the Bug Gym, which probably won't be entirely easy, and also a plethora of rival fights to follow. We'll have to fight Bianca, Sharon and N before we get the chance to take a crack at the Electric Gym directly after. Still, the Bug Gym should be easier than the normal gym we've just been through, but Berg's Levani can still be a tricky opponent. With that being said then, let's find out how tricky exactly. I'm prepared for this fight as best I can, and we face off. Berg begins with Whirlipede and we clap it with Fake Out for decent damage and a flinch. We then take it out with Slash. Dwebble is second, we land a Bite on it and get another flinch, which pretty nice, before a second Bite falls short of taking it out. Dwebble smacks us with Smackdown, and when Berg drops a Hyper Potion, I go for a Workup. Thanks to our attacking boost, we are now able to 2-shot Dwebble with Bite, getting a flinch with the first one. And outlast is Levani. However, we crit a Slash and take it down for a win. Okay, that wasn't as bad as feared. We still have fights ahead though, and before long we are battling with Bianca as we try to escape Castelia City. She begins with Herdia and we are Intimidated. We clap it with Fake Out for nearly half its health, and then we go for a Workup immediately after to remove the attack debuff. Herdia only uses Odor Sleuth, and then we take it out with a Slash to what I'm assuming is the face. Duot is second, we do massive damage with Slash and then take decent damage and have our defences lowered with Razor Shell. However, I spot a heal coming and go for another Workup while Bianca uses the potion. Slash then takes Duot out. Muna is a one-shot with Bite, and last is Panseer, who we one-shot with Slash. We don't have time to breathe though, as we face off with Sharon 20 seconds later, and he begins with P-Dove. We use Fake Out to hurt it, doing big damage, and then we go for Workup. P-Dove only uses Roost, which I'll take. We do take it out with Slash, but get hit with Quick Attack. I go for another Workup versus Pansage, and we get hit with Bite for meagre damage. However, we take it out on the next turn with Slash. I want an attack boost for when we face Pignite, hence the Workup. Pignite is next, and we one-shot with Slash. Lipard is last, and we hit a Slash and one-shot. While we are walking through the desert towards the Electric Gym, let's take the chance to do some Meowth trivia. Where to start with this? I mean, there is the obvious Dom fan in the room in the fact that there are 2 regional and a Gigantamax form of Meowth. Its G-Max form is the only known Pokemon capable of using G-Max Gold Rush, and I think that will continue to be the case because I don't think they'll bring Dynamax back to the main series anytime soon. It will probably be in Champions at some point, but meh. There's also a Meowth that appeared somewhat prominently in the anime, but I'm not going to talk too much about that. Pokédex entries talk about how they're nocturnal, how they love round, shiny things. Some of the Alola entries talk about how they often fight with Murkrow over shiny things. The Ultramoon Pokédex entry talks about how they're fickle, so although you can make friends easily with them, it might not last. Apparently, the Cantonian and Galarian Meowth don't get on. Just a rumour though that. In the anime, it is implied that Team Rocket's Meowth had to learn to practice standing on his hind legs, meaning they're not able to do it naturally. However, pretty much every single game sprite contradicts this. The only time Meowth is depicted on all fours in the game is when it is a following Pokemon in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. It may be considered a counterpart of Mankey, as both are Gen 1 Pokemon who evolve at level 28 and have been consistently version exclusives throughout various games. There was a Dark-type Meowth in the TCG a decade before Alolan Meowth appeared. Since the end of the original anime and Ash Ketchum's final episode, a Meowth has not appeared in the anime. Meowth may be based on the Japanese legend, and I do apologise if I butcher this, Maneki Neko, also known as the Lucky Cat. It may also draw inspiration from Siamese cats. Its name may be a combination of Meow and Wealth. Into Nimbossa City then, and we have to face off with N outside the Ferris wheel, and well, he hasn't been too bad so far, and I don't really anticipate this being that bad either. He begins with Sandile and we go for Workup straight away. We get hit with Embargo but take it out with Slash. Scraggy is a one-hit takedown with Slash, and so is Darumaka on the next turn. When it comes to the last opponent, Sigilif, we land a Slash again and take it out, so my lack of concern turned out to be the correct approach. Heading into the Electric Gym now and the fight with Elisa. She begins with Emolga number 1 and we clap it with Fake Out before going for a Workup. She hits a Volt Switch to bring in Emolga number 2, who we fold with Slash to take it down very quickly. Emolga number 1 comes back out, we strike a Slash and take it down for the count. No paralysis, which is pretty handy. And last out is Zebstrika. We strike Slash, we crit the Slash, we take it down in one shot for the win, and we can move on. Outside town, we have to fight Cheren again, after Bianca distracted us with the music hall. He begins with Liepard and we land Fake Out to take out over half its health. We do use a Workup, but then we get hit with Torment, so now we need to be careful and consider our move choices. We take it out with Slash. Pansage is second, we one-shot with Bite, and Tranquil is third. We get hit with Quick Attack twice, but we use Workup to raise our attack and then take it out with Bite. Of course, I want my Slash to be available to use on Pignite, and when it comes out last, we strike a Slash to bring it down for the count and give us the win. Okay, so in terms of upcoming fights, there's going to be the Ground Gym as the next major fight. One of their major things is using Bulldoze, but we do have a lot of speed, so maybe losing some won't be entirely critical. I'm probably going to teach Cheshire Dig ahead of that fight because I figure we'll need it to get over on Excadrill. We could probably slash it down eventually, but I think we'd probably get taken out first. There's also Steel types in Chargestone Cave afterwards, so Dig will be useful there. We're going to have to face Bianca and N before we get to the next gym leader too. Anyway, the Ground Gym is something I'm not expecting to be too bad, but let's see as we face off with Clay. He begins with Krokorok and thankfully it doesn't have Intimidate. We go for Workup but are hit with Torment, so we can't just spam our moves. We take Krokorok out with Slash. Palpitoad is next. We go for another Workup because of Torment. We do get hit with Bulldoze and lose speed, but we take Palpitoad out with Slash. We can then go for Dig versus Excadrill and take it down to give us the win. Now that was pretty smooth, but with Torment it could have gone wrong if I picked the wrong moves at the wrong time. Time for the Bianca battle then, and this could go either way. She begins with Herdia and we are intimidated. We go for Workup and so does the Herdia. I go for another work up the turn after, and then Herdia misses takedown on us. I take that as a warning shot not to mess around any longer, and we fold Herdia with Slash. Duot is next, and we one-shot with Slash before Pansear is third, and we one-shot with Slash. Mashana is last. It survives Slash on a sliver and hits Hypnosis before Bianca heals. We stay asleep for several turns before eventually we wake up and we can two-shot Mashana with Bite, it having raised its defence with Defence Curl. We also managed to get a flinch in all that to avoid being put back to sleep. Moving through Chargestone Cave then, I'm going to quickly talk about the channel, but it won't be a long one. So, you may have noticed that this video was late. I'm in the middle of one of my yearly breaks. What I can say at this time is that I'm going to get this video up, and the next one will be the Halloween challenge, so it'll be out around that time. I definitely want to do that. That is going to be Pokemon Fire Red with just a single Zubat. It'll be the second Zubat challenge of the year. I don't know what will happen for the rest of the year. I do know that there is definitely a challenge I want to do for Christmas, but we'll see what happens between now and then if there's anything else. You might have noticed there was a lot of TCG stuff uploaded in the interim. I did also finish my playthrough of Resident Evil 7 that I started in either May or June, I can't remember which, so that's going to be something that, if it's not already started to be uploaded, will be uploaded in the future. Other than that, not much to update at the time of writing, which was already a few days after this should have been uploaded. I have a feeling there may be footage of my playthrough of Pokemon Legends ZA at some point. Just a feeling. I haven't bought a Switch 2 to play that, it's still going to be on the Garden Variety Switch, which could be an interesting experience. Anyway, the end fight. This is actually pretty horrible. He begins with Boldore and we go for a bite, getting a flinch, but it doesn't do fantastic damage. We go into Dig and we avoid a smackdown, and Dig does take Boldore down for the count to give us a knockout. Joltik is second. We land a Slash to down it in one hit, and then we have to fight Ferroseed. We go for Work Up, but it uses Iron Defence. We do hit a Dig, but it doesn't do a huge amount of damage, and worse, it goes for Iron Defence 2 more times. Every time we hit it, we're not doing a lot of damage, we're taking Iron Barbs damage, and soon we also start getting hit with Metal Claws, which cut into our health. We lose nearly all our health over the course of this exchange. It just goes on for so long, and when it comes to an end, we are on red health and we've nearly fainted. I had to use so many work-ups just to get to this point. Clink is last, but we are faster. We've raised our attack enough so that we can one-shot with Dig. Well, I didn't expect to get walled by Ferroseed. I'm wandering around getting some levels before the next bit of the game. We've got the battle with Skylar coming up, and then we'll also have the battle with Cheron. I don't think either of those will cause us too much trouble. But then there's Twist Mountain to get through, with lots of trainers who use fighting and rock types, so this is going to be fun. Not. On the plus side though, the ice gym shouldn't be too much of an issue. Anyway, Skylar. She begins with Swoobat, and we immediately kick off the battle by going for Work Up for a power boost. We get hit with Acrobatics for decent damage, but our new move, Night Slash, takes it out in one hit. Unpheasant survives Slash on red health, but only goes for Razor Wind. I think this stops her from healing, and we land another Slash to take the Unpheasant down. Last is Swanna, and we strike a Slash. It survives and hits an Air Slash. Skylar heals, I predicted it. We go for another Work Up and then crit a Slash to take it down in one hit. We did take some hits, but it wasn't too bad. Outside Twist Mountain, we have to fight Cheron. He begins with Unpheasant, and we take the chance to get a Work Up in before it goes to back-to-back detects. I use another Work Up and then another one as he doubles down on detect. We then land a Slash to down the Unpheasant hard. Pignite is second, and we strike a Slash and bring it down without much sort of problem. Third is Simisage, we down it with a single Slash, and last is Lipard, who does hit us with Fake Out, but when we do get the chance to attack, The slash is a one-hit takedown. On the other side of Twist Mountain, we have the Ice Gym and the battle with Bryson, which I'm not anticipating to be too much trouble, but I also know that we need to be careful. Beartic might be able to screw us up if we start getting hit. Anyway, Bryson begins with Vanillish, and we immediately go for a workup. Vanillish goes for Acid Armour. We rinse and repeat, going for another workup while it repeats with Acid Armour. And turn 3 goes exactly the same, as our attack is at +3 now, but their defence is at +6. I wonder what that will do to our damage output as we hit Slash, but we crit for a one-shot. Beartic is second, and we go for Slash, we one-shot with Slash. And that puts us into the fight with the physically frail Cryogonal, who, you won't be surprised to hear, we one-shot with Slash. While I go through Dragon Spiral Tower, I figure I've got some tough fights ahead. There's the Bianca fight, which I always figure has some difficulty to it, regardless of if the reality matches that or not. I think that Swinub challenge I did in Pokemon Black several years ago just left something broken in me regarding that fight. Then there'll be the Dragon Gym, which never actually as bad as you think it's going to be. I think it's usually worse in Black 2 and White 2, just saying. Then the final Cheran fight. Also, seems a good a time as any to do it. I also did do a YouTube search to see if this challenge has been done before. I couldn't find any record of anyone having done a Gen 5 run with Meowth, regardless of it being in base Black or White or the sequel game, so this might be a world first. Well, I can't be any happier at that. Yes! The fact that that couldn't sound any less sincere if I tried. Okay then, the Bianca fight, and let's go get this on. She begins with Stoutland, and we are immediately intimidated right at the start, which never ideal, but we're used to it by now. We counter by going for a workup, and unfortunately, so does Stoutland. We use another workup, but get clapped with Retaliate for massive damage. Thankfully though, on the next turn, we land a crit slash to one-shot Stoutland. Don't know if that would have been a one-shot otherwise. Samurott is second. We do massive damage, hitting about 2/3 of its health with Slash, and then it hits us with a Slash of its own. I am worried about getting counter hit with a rain boosted Aqua Jet, but that doesn't happen. We take it out with another Slash. Simisear is third. I take the chance to go for Dig. It misses with Flame Burst, and we take it out with Dig. Moshana is last. We hit a Night Slash, but it just about survives and goes for Lucky Chant to avoid crits. Bianca then starts to spam full restores, which very good of her because it drags the fight on way longer than needed. Maybe I should just have gone for another workup, but we just keep landing Night Slashes, and eventually we bring the Moshana down for the win. Anyway, after much travelling, I make my way through Opelucid City, and the battle with Drayden awaits, which I'm somewhat bemused about. Now, I did figure out after much fighting in the gym that Druddigon can be a problem, so we are going to need to be suitably powerful. He begins with Fracture, and we immediately go for a few workups, while Fracture goes for a few Dragon Dance attacks, which, fair dues, not ideal, but as long as it doesn't get faster than us, we'll be fine. And when it comes down to it, we one-shot with Slash. Druddigon is second. We one-shot with Slash, but take damage from Rough Skin. And at the end, Haxorus is a one-shot with Slash, and we take the final badge. We are walking towards the Pokemon League now, but there is a final fight with Cheran before we go much further. This might not be too bad. I never have the same worry about this that I do that final Bianca fight. He begins with Unpheasant, who goes for Detect, and we work up. We work up again, and it charges up Razor Wind. We go for Slash, but it doesn't quite take it out, and we get blasted with the Razor Wind. I anticipate a heal that never comes, and we go for another workup, but Unpheasant goes for Taunt. Unable to power up anymore, another Slash takes it down at the second attempt after a first attempt is blocked by Detect. Not ideal. Emboar is second. We still have Dig though, and we go for it, landing the blow to take it down. Out third is Simisage, who we one-shot with Slash, and last is Lipard, who, once again, we one-shot with Slash. Going through Victory Road then, time to have a think about what's ahead. We can fight the Elite Four in any order. Now, of the Elite Four, I don't think Chantal will be too bad, and maybe Caitlin won't be too bad either. I can see Grimsley being somewhat rough as he begins with a quite bulky fighting type. And on the subject of fighting types, as for Marshall, I can see us having to be at least level 80 before we have even a chance of beating him. Our defence isn't great and we are going to be getting hit hard with super effective damage. Enon gets this? Well, I don't actually know. We can get decent enough coverage for them move wise, so maybe things won't be too bad, but I guess we'll have to see. I mean, I can pretty much guess what they're going to do already. We know what Getsis likes to do, we know what N likes to do, so we'll see. Anyway, at the Pokemon League, here are our stats at level 65. So, our speed is great, our attack is passable, but as I said a moment ago, our defences are only nice in terms of the number, if not the value. I'll let that sink in for a moment. Our special attack is low, but we're not using that anyway, so who cares? But we are so frail. I've already said I think we'll need to be stronger, but take your guesses on if it can be done at this level or not. Right now, folks, let's do this. Cue that Gen 5 gym music. I go after Chantal first, and though our first effort is a wash, our second one goes much better. She begins with Cofagrigus and we go for Workup. I have a Roast Berry equipped for burns, since it likes to use Will-O-Wisp. We get hit with 2 Psychics, but we survive quite easily, so yay! I go for 2 Workups to raise our attack, before we then down Cofagrigus with Night Slash. Second is Golurk, who we one-shots with Night Slash. Third is Chandelure, who we one-shots with Night Slash, but get burned by the Flame Body. However, our berry takes care of that. Last is Jellicent, we one-shot with Night Slash to give us the win. On the previous effort, 1 Workup wasn't quite enough to one-hit Jellicent, so that's why we needed 2. I figure we're not going to beat Marshall or Grimsley yet, so I try Caitlin, but do end up somewhat brick-walled by Reuniclus, who we cannot one-shot with Night Slash without powering up. And Reuniclus is also capable of one-shotting us from full health with Focus Blast. I make several tries knowing Focus Blast is inaccurate, but I also know this is going to the point where I make about 17 retries where Focus Blast never misses. It's not 17, it's actually about 8, which is still about 8 too many in my experience of that move. But even then, on the run where we do get past Reuniclus, we get crit by Sigilif and one-shot with Psychic. I realise we can't do it now, and so I pop some rare candies to raise our level. I make some more tries at level 75, but it turns out not to be enough. I also equip the Bright Powder to make us harder to hit. It still takes a few tries though, and eventually I concede I still need to be stronger, and so I train up to level 80, and I figure this will give us more of a fighting chance. Fair dues, I will admit it, I am using rare candies, but grinding at this point in the game is just not something that I want to do. On the winning run, we go for Workup versus Reuniclus, and it misses Focus Blast before we one-shot with Night Slash. Sigilif is a one-shot with Night Slash, and Gothitelle is also a one-shot with, guess what, Night Slash, before Mushana is last. We land Night Slash, it survives on red health and misses Psychic. Caitlin heals, we go for another Workup and then fold it with Night Slash. Dark Trainer Grimsley I go for next, and it plays out like this. I'm expecting it to be quite a rough battle. He begins with Scrafty and we immediately work up. I could so do with Hone Claws here rather than work up since we're hit with Sand Attack, but that move is not an option. I hit a Slash, but Scrafty survives easily and then clatters us with Brick Break. I anticipate a heal and I get the chance to go for another work up to raise our attack again. We go for another Slash and one shot Scrafty. Crocodile is second and we are intimidated to lose some of that attack we just spent time raising, but we hit a Slash and manage to one shot. Bisharp is third and we go for Dig, managing to connect with it, which huge relief. Lipard is fourth and claps us with Fake Out, but we attack with Slash the next turn and take it out in one hit. That was better than expected. I did not expect that to be a first try victory. Fighting Trainer Marshall is 4th, and I wonder how many attempts this is going to take. The short story is that I make a bunch of tries at level 80 and it goes badly. We lose too much speed to throw, and even though we can take it and Conkeldurr out potentially, we usually get outsped and finished by Meowth at that point. Even if we did get to Soak, we can't one-shot that, so that is a problem, and I figure this is not going to work at this point. I raise our level to level 85 and we go again. He begins with Throw and we work up before being hit with Bulldoze. We clatter Throw with Aerial Ace but get hit with another Bulldoze. I know Marshall will heal and take the chance to work up again before we take Throw out with Aerial Ace. Conkeldurr is 2nd and we one-shot with Aerial Ace before we face Meowth. Even though we've lost 2 stages of speed to Throw's Bulldoze, we are somehow still faster than Meowth and we one-shot with Aerial Ace. That's impressive. We have the Shell Bell equipped, so we've recovered most of our health thanks to that. Soak survives Aerial Ace and hits Karate Chop, but we've got him locked into the cycle now. We can keep hitting him, and no matter how many times he heals, we will be faster and soon can bring him down. He's sturdy, be damned. We've got N ahead, which the first effort is always annoying thanks to the story forcing us to use the opposite dragon in the fight. It's almost like Game Freak were inherently opposed to the idea that you might not want to use a legendary because they sort of repeated it in Gen 6 with Xerneas and Yveltal to a point anyway. Anyway, we'll see how they play out. I have a reasonable idea how both of these fights work by this point, so we will have to see. Let's go into the end fight then. Of course, as previously stated, we have to open with Reshiram, so I do my usual strategy of hooking Pokeballs at Zekrom until it pulls its claw out of its rear end and knocks out Reshiram. Now if I'm lucky, it'll take Reshiram out with Giga Impact, and that will give us a free turn when I switch Cheshire in. It's a bit of a grey area, but it's not something I have control over. It does feel a bit cheap doing this, but don't hate the player, hate the game. Anyway, that turns out to be the case, as Zekrom floors Reshiram with Giga Impact. Cheshire then comes in and we work up while Zekrom recharges. We go for Dig and we do massive damage. Zekrom only goes for Light Screen and then N heals his legendary Pokemon, giving us another chance to go for work up. We can go for a second Dig, and at this time we hit hard enough to bring Zekrom down in one hit. Out second is Klinklang, but I think it's Zoroark. Confirmed when it goes for Night Slash, but we one-shot with Dig. I figured, but I didn't want to take the chance. The real Klinklang is also a one-shot with Dig, and third is Vanillux, who we can one-shot with Return. I figure we needed a power boost. Caracosta is 5th, and I know it has Sturdy. We take it down with 2 returns, but we do get hit with Stone Edge. I could have digged, but it had just probably put it onto red health with Sturdy, and would have had this fight going on a lot longer than we needed to. Last is Archeops, we can one-shot with Shadow Claw, that gives us the win over N. We have to fight Getsis straight after, and I'm not prepped for this fight. Worse, I still have Reshiram in the party, and so I have to let Cofagrigus take it out. Despite Cheshire getting hit with Toxic, we do manage to take out 4 of his Pokemon before succumbing to the poison. Okay, I go again, I plan. I know exactly how to beat Getsis, and so I equip a Peachy Berry to my Meowth and we head back in. He begins with Cofagrigus and we immediately work up. We get lucky in that Cofagrigus goes to protect the first turn. We then land a Shadow Claw, but it doesn't one-shot and we get hit with Toxic. I know he'll heal, so I go for another work up, our Berry doing its work. We then one-shot on the next turn. Hydreigon is 2nd and we one-shot with Return. Bouffalont is also a one-shot with Return, and when it comes out in 4th, so is Seismitoad. Bisharp is 5th, we go for Dig, we manage to one-shot with Dig to put us into battle with Electros, and that is a one-shot with Return to give us a win in the run. That was an effort, not because of difficulty, just motivation. Like I said, I'm going to take a break for a few weeks now. I will be back with a challenge about Halloween time, and I take on Pokemon Fire Red with a single Zubat. But anyway, thanks for watching folks, I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, call out with a comment and smash that subscribe button. Any ideas for challenges in the future, give me a shout. I suppose going forward I should build a break into doing these at least some point. This has happened 3 years in a row now that I get to about 2/3 of the year point and just burn out. In my defence, I have been through some life change in the past month, so I'll get to it. I don't know what else I can say folks, I do these for fun and just sometimes it reaches a point where they don't feel like fun, so that's when I need to take a break. That's just my personal take. Anyway, join me again on the next one folks, I'm going to jump off here. Bye bye, so long, farewell.